knowledge into you or taking the learning always into you. But what if I told you that some of the most effective learning techniques involve actively struggling, right? Yes, you heard it right. It's actively struggling and even embracing the process of forgetting. Sometimes forgetting helps you learn. That's why I said it's paradoxical. It's counterintuitive. Okay. Right. So sounds a bit crazy. All right. So, well, today we're going to demystify exactly that. Now, our first topic for Kwik Brain, the Minimalist, is called the testing effect. It's called the testing effect, and why forgetting is your superpower. How does forgetting something help you learn? For years, we have all the way from your childhood, whenever you have learned something, whenever you have learned something new, remembering or memorizing something, or being with, always keeping that in your mind has been your biggest learning technique, or something that is always that you're expected to do, aren't you? But then we are talking about forgetting here. Now, how does that work? So let's understand this. In cognitive psychology, right, it has been pointed to something called the testing effect, also known as retrieval practice. Here's how this works, right? When you actively retrieve information from your memory, you strengthen the neural pathways to that information far more effectively than simply reading it. Okay, that's what happens. So when you keep reading something again and again, when you keep repeating it again and again, it kind of organizes it in a better way for you. That's how it works. All right, think about it. When you reread a document or your notes, you create a false sense of familiarity. Your brain sees the information and then it kind of thinks, yep, I know that. Right. So, but true, knowing is about being able to recall when you need it, but then forgetting keeps you always engaged and active. That's a psychological insight, which is profound. Our brains are designed to learn through effort, right? When you put in an effort, your brain retains it. Psychologists call this desirable difficulties. Desirable difficulty. It's a difficulty, but then it is desirable. It means that certain learning conditions that feel harder, like trying to recall information from scratch, actually lead to stronger and more lasting memories. I repeat, you heard me right. Something that makes you feel harder, which is like forgetting and trying to recall information from the scratch, will lead to stronger and more lasting memories, right? So that's what is called the testing effect, or the retrieval practice that we're talking about. Now, let's look at this, right? Let's look at this way. When you struggle to remember something, even when you fail at it first, the very act of struggling forces your brain to work. It starts working. It activates and strengthens the neural connections associated with that piece of information. So it kind of is always live and active. Now, each successful retrieval is like adding another brick to a sturdy memory wall. And where does forgetting come into play here, right? Because we're talking about recalling. It's not about intentionally forgetting everything, of course, right? It's not that you want to forget. It's not that you want to do it that way. It's about letting a little time pass, allowing some of the information to fade, and then try to recall it. Maybe you learn something on a Monday, try to recall it on a Thursday or a Friday. So you may not be fully, remembering everything, but then this recall and then going ahead and learning creates a desirable difficulty, right? So now if you can recall something easily right after learning it, the brain does not see the need to consolidate it deeply. You're doing a reinforcement. If you have to stretch and struggle a bit to pull it out of your memory, then your brain marks that information as important and works harder to cement it for future access. This is exactly how most of your artificial intelligence is also work, labeling, and then categorically tokenization. So that's exactly how your brain also works. All right. Now that is what it does. This is why we've spoken about in the earlier classes, spaced repetition. Reviewing information at increasing intervals is so powerful. And that is what you can apply to this, the forgetting superpower and the testing effect. Now let's just quickly go ahead and look at some action points. Right. So don't just read it. After a meeting, try to write down the key takeaways from memory. Use flashcards, right? So not necessarily a flashcard you don't write, but you can use a sticky note. Use 4 different sticky notes on your laptop or your desktop, and then see that you make a note of everything, and just gaze through all of them, just like flipping the papers, and you try to recall the answer before you flip. Before you look at your system, go ahead and recall what is the right answer for that. Teach others, explain a concept to someone else, and that forces you to retrieve and articulate it, highlighting the gaps in your own understanding. Right? Highlighting the gaps in your own understanding. Now, that is one way of you retrieving and recalling information. Now, practice quizzes, right? Sometimes just go ahead and ask questions. Now, the best way to do this is, this is where I want to talk about how you can leverage using an artificial intelligence. Do not find an answer through the artificial intelligence. Go ahead and type this answer. Hey, you know what? I've learned this new topic and I'm trying to recall this. This is what my understanding is. Out of a question on 5, how many marks do you give and why? And AI does that promptly. It can be a Google Gemini. It could be your Chat GPT. It could be your Perplexities. It could be your Claude. It could be any of it. Okay. Now, if you do any of this, all right. So what happens is this goes and gives you the answer. Now, this is an active recall. So you have your brain, your learning partner is your artificial intelligence. Just go ahead and use that tool to go ahead and recall that. How wonderful is this, right? Your brain can be tuned exactly how you forget and recall. You can use the artificial intelligence, which is your Gen AI tools, any of the Gen AI tools to go ahead and recall this. How interesting is that, Srilekha? Isn't it?
Sorry, Rudra, I missed you.
You just using an AI tool to help you learn, right? So,
yes. And also, like, there are many AI tools which is Sindhu is keep introducing in the Thursday special.
No, I mean, if you really want me to do those AI tools, I can do that for learning also. Okay, right? Because all of those tools are something that I am familiar with, like what she's introducing. So we can tie that up to learning also. Okay.
Sure, Rudra. We can make it. I think it will be a little more interesting rather than the routine one. Yes.
Right. So we can definitely do that. Right. So what you can do, how you can use, but the basic principle remains the same. Learning is important. You use this as a tool. That's all. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Perfect. All right. So this is about testing effect. All right. So then why forgetting is your superpower. Let's quickly go ahead and learn something new now. Right. So let's switch gears a little and talk about why or what truly makes learning addictive. Okay. I use the word addictive, right? So you need to be over engaging in something to become an addictive. That is what we're talking about. So our second topic on Kwik Brain, the Minimalist, we are explaining, exploring the dopamine novelty and the brain's craving for curiosity. Okay. Now, dopamine is a hormone that is in your, it's a neurotransmitter essentially in your brain, and then it is produced when it's a hormone, right? So, these are crucial in the way you behave, the way you conduct your bodily functions, and all of it. So that's what it does. It's a neurotransmitter and hormone involved in the reward system of the brain. So it plays a role in motivation, pleasure, joy, and learning. That's what is dopamine. Okay. It helps regulate motor function, mood, and attention. That's what is the hormone it does. So let me just ask all of you here, right? So we have all experienced that feeling of being hooked on a good story, a great movie, a fascinating documentary, or even a compelling video game, right? So when you look at it, it's so fascinating and you get hooked up to it. Why is that? It's often because these experiences skillfully tap in your brain's innate reward system. So driven by a powerful transmitter, as I said, called dopamine. It's just not about joy. It's crucial about motivation and an anticipation of reward when we encounter something new. And surprising, or that promises a solution or a puzzle, your brain releases dopamine. So this surge actually is what gives you that moment to be inspired for learning. Let's quickly look at it, how fascinatingly it works. Our brains are hardwired for novelty seeking. What is novelty seeking? Novelty is something that you always do, with a tinge of being unique, right? So that is what it is. So let's quickly, breaking routines is like novelty, right? And in a simple thing, it just means doing things differently or trying something new to keep your brain interested and engaged in what you're learning. That's what it is. Our brains love new things. They get bored with the same old routine. When something is new, your brain pays more attention, and that helps you learn better. If you want to learn cooking, right? So you just look at your recipe, YouTube videos, and start doing it. It doesn't really enjoy it. But then if you break your routine, do something different, and explore tangential topics, right? So that kind of pick your interest, like you want to try something with a scientific approach, you want to try something with a cultural approach, you want to try something with an artistic approach, or you want to try something with a very differently available ingredient, then your brain is like, yeah, cooking is very interesting, and then it gets into it. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we're talking about, shaking things up and trying new angles. That's what we're looking at. Okay, now let's quickly see how does this work. As I said, the first step here is introduce novelty. Break routines. If you're learning a new skill, try different approaches, tools, or resources, as I mentioned. Gamify your learning, right? So think about what makes engaging like games for you. You clear a goal, it's an accomplishment. You get immediate feedback about something, you know where you're heading. Then you feel that, oh yeah, that's right, that's happening. Escalating challenges and rewards, even small ones like, ticking off a task, apply these to your learning. That's what is very important. Cultivate curiosity. Ask why more often, like the Socratic approach. We all know the Socrates, right? The Socratic approach is ask them why. Why does this happen? Don't just accept information at face value. Dig deeper. Frame your learning as a series of puzzles to solve or mysteries to unravel. Keep adding on to that concept mapping that you keep doing. Why is this? What is this happening? When all of these are happening, you get that aha moment, like the wow moments. Actively look for connections between different pieces of information. When you synthesize new ideas or see how disparate concepts fit together, that's a powerful dopamine hit that reinforces learning. That's very, very important. Vary your learning methods. Don't keep reading the same thing. Don't keep looking at the same videos or listening to podcasts, discussing with peers, and hands-on practice. Try to do a mix of everything. This keeps the video sensory or this keeps the sensory inputs fresh and engages different parts of your brain. As I said, by consciously injecting novelty, seeking out those wow or aha moments, right, and framing learning as an exciting quest, you're essentially programming your brain to crave more knowledge. You're turning learning into a self-reinforcing, enjoyable cycle. That's exactly how you learn. Now, so what we have learned today, one of them is your testing effect by recalling and by forgetting things and ensuring that you go ahead and learn better by forgetting. And then the other one is your desirable difficulty of retrieval practice. That's the one thing. And the second one is your brain's craving for dopamine and novelty, and consciously design your learning experiences to fuel your natural curiosity. By applying all of these, you can learn with minimal efforts and minimal time. You can move beyond general passive consumption and turn into a very active learner. That's what this does, and it is very powerful, efficient, and even addictive. So, like the machine learning, you become a learning machine, right? So that's what it is. That's all I had for this week's episode of Kwik Brain, the Minimalist. You have any questions, comments, anything, people, just go ahead and quickly put that in. Anything that is coming on the chat box, Srilekha? Anything that is coming? Do you see any?
No, Rudra. No. We didn't receive any comment.
All right. Okay. No worries. Thanks a lot. That's all for this week's episode of Kwik Brain Minimalist. Join us again next Thursday at 5:30 p.m. For more insights on mastering your mind with minimal effort. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and remember, right here on DC Live, we care, we share, and we are on air. Thank you. See ya.
Thanks. Thank you.